it is time for some more development from normal Ireland, because things are incredibly normal around here at the moment. For example, the Brit Awards got rid of gendered categories, so best female musician, best male musician, whatever. Now, I don't necessarily think that this might be a good idea or not. I actually think that having multiple categories and multiple awards just makes things better for everybody, because then you definitely have people from each of those two genders getting some kind of recognition. It means more awards get given out. People are generally happier. I don't really see this. But Brian May of Queen, he thinks that this is bad. And he has said, and I shit you not, Brian May says Queen would be forced to have a trans person if starting now in bizarre rant. Queen guitarist Brian May has blasted the Brit Awards for banning gendered categories in bizarre rant against woke cancel culture. Right, first of all, who's getting cancelled? What's the cancel culture that's going on here, Brian? Can you please detail to me? Like, clearly this is a kind of thing that would happen, that someone would they would call woke, right? If someone's going to get pissed at people being woke, this is what they would get pissed off at. Something like gendered categories being removed. Now, the efficacy of this petition aside, is it something that you really should actually care about? I disagree. I do not think that this really matters in the grand scheme of things, both if they do or don't do it. Right? It's just the Brit Awards. So this week, the Brit announced that Artist of the Year and International Artist of the Year awards are replacing traditional male and female categories. Organisers said the move was a small but a seismic way of ensuring artists of all genders are celebrated, bringing their focus on their music and work rather than how they choose to identify. I guess I can see that. I can understand their reasoning. I don't think it makes much sense, but I can definitely understand what they're talking about there. But an interview with the British tabloid The Sun, May, 74, took aim at the ceremony for its knee-jerk reaction before claiming that Queen would be forced to be diverse if remade today. A casual reminder that Queen was led by Freddie Mercury, a queer man born in Zanzibar to Parsi Indian parents. Funny that. Does Brian May think Freddie Mercury was a straight white guy? May bristled with anger at ITV's Palooza at the Royal Festival Hall in London on Tuesday as he slammed the Brits. I feel very uncomfortable at some of the directions that are being made, often out of fear. It's a decision that's been made without enough thought, he said of the move that has been a pipeline since at least 2019. A lot of things work quite well and can be left alone. I think some things need to go back. What matters is justice and equality of opportunity, no matter who you are. Now, I think that's a reasonable statement. I think that saying that, it could theoretically have been made without enough thought, and that, there needs to be equality of opportunity, I don't think that's an unreasonable statement to make. But not in this context. Like, when you're saying this being made out of fear of what? That people are going to come and firebomb the Brit Awards because they had a category they had gendered categories? Pull the fucking other one, mate. It's got bells on, for fuck's sake. I get so sick of people trying to change things without thinking of the long-term consequences. Some of these things are an improvement. Some of them are not. I'm wondering what he thinks the long-term consequences of this are. I wonder what he thinks. I mean, the actual consequence that I think would be an issue is that I think it would end up leading to more men being given awards. I think that women would get shut out of a lot of awards because a lot of the music industry is dominated by male voices. Like, I think that is one of the things that you could theoretically say. That's why having the separate categories might probably be a good thing in general. It would see more women represented. But something tells me that's not going to be the argument that he's going to make. May then spoke of an apparent atmosphere of fear that has seized the music industry, one he claimed to stop people from saying how they really think. I mean, you can say what you think, right? People are gonna, push back at you. It's called the marketplace. Of ideas, bitch. I think so many people are feeling, hang on, this isn't quite right, but they don't say anything. Eventually there'll be some kind of explosion. The old silent majority, eh? Speaking again about a completely imaginary scenario, May said that if the four Brit Awards winning four Brit Awards winning Queen were formed as a band now, it would not be considered diverse enough. Yeah, because there's no fucking bands with which are all men in the music industry at all. No, they definitely do not exist in any sense of the word. There are definitely no bands that are entirely made up of men that are successful right now. Definitely not the biggest band in the world at all. No, that's not the case. Not the case in the slightest. I'm sure if Queen started now, we would be forced to have people of different colours and different sexes and a trans person, and a trans is how he put that. Again, who would force him to do that? Who would be forcing him to? The record label, would they do that? I mean, record labels have much less power than they do nowadays anyway because of new media and the way that it's put together. I really don't like. He's just like making up a scenario and then getting mad at what's in his own head. This is completely nonsensical. But life doesn't have to be like that. We can be separate and different, which again is not really relevant. He added, for instance, Freddie came from Zanzibar. He wasn't British, he wasn't white as such. Nobody cares, nobody ever discussed it. Sure? Like, no one's discussing the fact that Blood Red Shoes have a woman in the band. Like, the only reason why people are discussing Laura Jane Grace of Against Me is because it's the transphobic backlash that she gets. Like, if she wasn't getting transphobic backlash, then people wouldn't care. That's the whole point of Pride as the thing, is because there is backlash to these people and they're being proud in the face of it. And again, that's why there's talk about Laura Jane Grace as a trans person, because she has, there are barriers that she has to break through and walls that are put up in front of her. If they weren't there, it wouldn't be an issue in the first place. He was a musician, he was our friend, he was our brother. We didn't have to stop and think, ooh, now, should we work with him? Is he the right colour? Is he the right sexual proclivity? No one's fucking thinking that, Brian. No one's thinking that when they're making their band. No one's doing it. It just so happens that we live in a culture that is a little bit more permissive of people who aren't straight men being members of bands. Like, more women are being incentivized to get involved in music. And more trans people are, more people of color. I think that's great. The fact they're incentivized to do so it's not because they've been forced in by music execs. Like, that's not a thing that's happening. Again, he's just invented a scenario in his own head. None of that happened, and now I find it frightening that you have to be so calculated with everything. Twitter users were sufficiently bemused by Brian May's outburst, with many pointing out that the Queen itself was confronted by a queer person of colour living with HIV. I guess that's kind of what he's already made a point of in the article previously. But it's true, he is old man. Old man yells at diversity. I think that's a mischaracterization to say it's threatening any kind of artistic hegemony, and I'm not sure that really tracks. I just think that he's seeing the world changing around him and just getting mad because that's what boomers do. Just like incandescent, like ill-directed boomer rage, something like that. LGBT plus artists such as Sam Smith and Will Young have for years called on the Brit Awards one of Britain's top music ceremonies to abolish gendered categories for excluding non-binary and gender non-conforming artists. That's true. That's the thing. Maybe you should just have a man, woman, and non-binary artist prize. Maybe that's a better idea. But whatever. I definitely agree with that point. Tom March, Brit chair and co-president of Polydor Records, said in a statement, "It is important that the Brits continue to evolve and aim to be as inclusive as possible. It feels completely the right time to celebrate the achievements of artists for the music they create and the work that they do, irrespective of gender." Okay. I get that. Again, I still think that maybe it didn't need to happen. Maybe an extra category for non-binary people would be fine, but whatever. As long as, like, at the end of the day, it's a fucking awards show. Now, that doesn't mean that people are just going to get forced diversity thrust upon them in the music industry. Nothing's happened with that, Brian. You've made this up. You're like, I don't know what it is about boomers and the way in which that they just want to fabricate situations that make them angry. There's a really great Russell Howard skit where he talks about the What Next Brigade. Let me find that. There we go. This is a good one. And it exactly sums up the attitude these people have, where they completely like extrapolate things that are happening to the furthest, most wild like ends that they could possibly be to, just to get angry at it theoretically, right?
Papers, they never represent us, they're never balanced. All that immigration coming over here ruining the country. I was born here, don't you know? You were born here through chance. Doesn't give you an excuse to behave like an arsehole. It's not as if you were sat in your mum's tummy going, "Mother, point your fanny towards Dover." It's better be England, I'm quite the bigot. For a brief sneeze of time, you know? We all want to be happy, we're all going to die, get on with it. I call these people the What Next Brigade. You've heard them. They're sapping the soul out of this land. They listen to the news and then invent their own misery to go with it. Expanding the congestion charts, what next? A tax on sneezing? Hug a hoodie, what next? Pay a mugger to shag my wife? Free contraceptives for teenagers, what next? Toddlers dressed as gimps? Abortion at 26 weeks, what next? Fannies fitted with nooses? And you're sat there going, no! You're inventing your own misery! You're defining yourself by pettiness. You get 70 years to live and you are enjoying being angry, you idiot! Well, it's political correctness gone mad. It's political correctness gone mad. It's a nanny state. It's a nanny state. I'm a stranger in my own country. Or my personal favourite, this country's enough to make you go mad. It really is. This country's enough to make you go mad. Yeah, I bet there's some bloke in some war-torn third world village as we speak, just crying. Just, why are you crying, mate? Is it because you've got no food, no money, no home? It is none of those things. Some people in England only have their willy bins collected once a fortnight. Suffering is unimaginable! Last week I saw my family killed before my very eyes, but paying for the carrier bag is enough to drive you mad! Well, Russell, if they won't collect my bins, we may as well have let the Germans win the war. So what do you plan next? What next, Adolf? Willy bins! Whining, snivelling idiots, you know? It could be worse. You could be a slug. Imagine that. Seriously, imagine actually being a slug. You look like a turd, you're covered in slime, all you do is drag your own rancid body along looking for cabbage. That's all you do. Have you seen any cabbage, Dave? No, I haven't, Alan. Oh, well, onwards in my quest for cabbage. Oh, no, I've got gravel on my belly. That is depressing. You can't even cry. If you do, the tears will melt your face. You know?
It's true. Like, this is the level that these people are at. Like, that's what that Brian May clip, that Brian May article essentially was. It was just like, oh, no, not having gendered categories at the Brit Awards anymore. Oh, what's next? A ban on men in the music industry? Like, well, having forced diversity, having record labels mandate transness. Okay, turns out you've pulled the short straw, Ringo. Now I've got to transition to be a woman because otherwise we're not diverse enough. It's just nonsense. It's nonsensical. It doesn't have any kind of basis in reality. Oh dear Lord. There was another thing that I had on the of people generating their own misery. I've got another clip to show everybody, which is from a Conservative MP. Is called Nick Fletcher, and he was talking. I think this is in a Parliamentary Select Committee, talking about International Men's Day, which is a good thing. It's a good thing we have International Men's Day for two reasons. First of all, we get to acknowledge, at least almost half of the world's population, at least half of the UK's population, and the things that they do, things they've achieved, looking at the issues that systemically affect men, such as higher incarceration rates, like lack of support for mental health, like high suicide rates, all of these things that really affect men. We can have a look at this on this blessed day, right? Wonderful. This is what he was saying about International Men's Day in the Parliamentary Select Committee.
Everywhere, not at least within the cultural sphere, there seems to be a call from a tiny yet very vocal minority that every male character or good role model must have a female replacement. One only needs to look at the discussion surrounding who will play the next James Bond. And it's not just James Bond. In recent years, we have seen Doctor Who, Ghostbusters, Luke Skywalker, The Equalizer, all replaced by women.
Luke Skywalker was in the latest series. Rey is not a replacement for Luke Skywalker. The series is over. There's no more Skywalker saga like Star Wars films anymore, and there's only one film that doesn't have Luke Skywalker in it out of the main trilogy and the sequel trilogy. What the fuck is he talking about?
And men are left with the craze and Tommy Shelby. Is there any wonder we are seeing so many young men committing crime? Everywhere, not at least...
That's it, guys. We've solved the crime issue. The reason why there's so much crime is because Jodie Whittaker is Doctor Who. Like, it's not like they have Sherlock Holmes. It's not like they have Star-Lord. It's not like they have Iron Man and Spider-Man. It's not like they have any of these. You get rid of Doctor Who, and there is one Star Wars movie in the sequel series that doesn't have Luke Skywalker in it. Doesn't matter, there's another male character. He's black, he doesn't count. But there's... Suddenly that happens, and men are going to start committing a load of crime. Wow. What a wild statement for him to make. It wasn't turned up very loud. My apologies, people who couldn't hear that when I originally posted this clip online as part of the segment, right? The crime rate increase in this country is due to social deprivation because wages are not rising with productivity and inflation, because people are made destituted by an economic system that cares not for the people who have to live in the country and only cares about shareholder profits. Have you maybe considered that, Conservative MP Nick Fletcher, that maybe the crime rates are, caused by the increase in poverty that's happened in the UK within the last 10 years? Wonder who was in charge for those 10 years. Absolutely wild shit. Although I would expect no less from Conservative MP. He's like, do you remember who's the guy MP for Shipley? Philip Davis? The guy who literally was just Sargon of Akkad but an MP, just spending his entire time as an MP just railing against feminism as a concept. And it's like, I think there's legitimate conversations for us to have about how men are treated in society and the issues and systemic problems that they face. Absolutely 100% certain. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't just have some level of female emancipation as well. And arguably more so considering the position that women hold in a naturally patriarchal society the way that it's built, right? That doesn't mean that men can't have issues that we can solve, especially not ones that are caused by the way in which the way in which the patriarchy is perpetuated to make men's lives, actually worse. For example, not being able to counter the masculine narrative and the way that they act, else to be ostracized by friend groups, etc. Things like this. Maybe it's not the fault of there being some large figures now being played by women instead. If you really want, if for example, in the future, James Bond gets played by a woman, how about you go back and watch all of the tens of male James Bond movies that exist already? There's fucking loads of them. Just go back and watch them. Who cares? I don't really care about new James Bond movies because I like good films, unfortunately. So, but also, to be fair, there is going to be no female James Bond because then it would stop selling in China, which is the majority market. Which is why I don't see a black James Bond. Yeah. But it's crazy to me. I wonder if there's anything in particular about the male lead from the new Star Wars movies that makes Nick think he's not a good role model. I wonder there, Ewan. I wonder what you could possibly be getting at there. And like the best part is in I guess this is just a clip, but he's made no connection there. He's not said why. He's just said there's now a woman as Doctor Who, so crimes have gone up. And it's like, how? Why? What are you doing? What's led to this increase in crime from what you've just said there? You've made no connection. Ah, dear Lord. Just another day on Normal Island.